Ha! Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you and I can hear you.
See? Typical, I told you. Hi, thank you for coming on today.
No problem.
We're live on Facebook, and the video is then going to go on YouTube as well as LinkedIn.
Exciting. Second YouTube video of the week.
It's a first for everything, and then it just keeps on rolling.
No. Got a channel soon.
Cup of tea. Yeah. Those who's been watching our little or my little StreamYard from last week, this is going to be like a weekly thing. So today we're talking to Stuart Wood from Woodshires, and we'll be talking about research and development. And next week it's a surprise. I'm still going to confirm that one for next week. Hi Stuart. Thank you very much for coming on. You said you've got your dad there as well. So I'm just going to give another little wave there. But so R&D. So how did you come up with R&D? Who is it for?
Right, okay. I definitely didn't. I wish I did, otherwise I'd be a considerably richer man. So where R&D tax credits originated from was originally actually a Canadian tax allowance back in 2001, where the Canadian government wanted to bring in a taxable incentive which allowed companies to innovate in their host nation and be rewarded on the back of taxable incentives for that innovation. So Canadian government bought it out. European leaders then decided it was a good idea, so the EU brought it on board. And because of the relationship we've always had with the EU, especially obviously now going forward, because we are not in the euro and we have our own currency, we have our own tax affairs, the HMRC took the European guidelines and then created their own version of it. So in terms of money and pots, it actually just comes out of the HMRC's coffers. It doesn't come out of the EU in any way. So one of the biggest things to start with is to say that leaving the EU doesn't actually affect R&D tax credits for companies in the UK. The only way it'll affect it is depending upon the rate that the government set out going forward. But as they will want to keep as many companies innovating in the UK as much as possible, they will only realistically probably increase the incentive for companies to utilise it in the UK. But in a nutshell, it's a taxable benefit for limited companies in the UK that have a USP. So there's only two criteria. You need to be a UK limited company and you need to have a USP. And then it's worth having a conversation. As long as you're going to be paying tax at some point, even if you're loss making now, it doesn't matter. It's still a benefit that you can cash in. There's a real incentive actually for doing it if you are loss making. But as long as you are going to be have a tax liability at some point as a company, then it's an incentive that you can actually use.
So you say just for limited companies, where do sole traders stand?
So sole traders can't claim as they currently stand, but what they can do is they can take some of their sole trader expenditure with them when they form the limited company. So say if you've got a sole trader that has developed a new system, process or product, and they're acting as a sole trader, but it's actually a better tax position for them to be a limited company, then the way it works is some of the expenditure that you have utilised whilst you're a sole trader can actually be rolled in to a limited company. But as a sole trader, you can't actually claim R&D at that point.
Okay. Oh, okay. So how far back can a sole trader go then when they form as a limited company?
It's the previous 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah. So if they form a limited company tomorrow, then the previous 12 months worth of expenditure, depending on what they worked on, can be rolled into the next year as an R&D expenditure.
Okay. So what sort of things do you think, when you say expenditure, what sort of things are we talking about when they've got a USB? What sort of thing they should keep an eye on or maybe do more of? What are your suggestions?
The simplest way to explain what research and development tax credits are is forget the research part and just worry about the development component. Okay. So we always say money for new rope. So rope is rope and it's been around for thousands and thousands of years. But the rope that a company is developing today is very different from the rope that has preceded it, and even other manufacturers who actually make rope as well. rope's just a really easy way to explain it. But if you have a client who has a requirement, maybe a big ship that needs to be held onto a dock, the company that makes the rope will have specific requirements for that client. So it has to have a certain amount of tensile strength, needs to be certain thickness, needs to have, it can't rot in certain weather. So it has lots of many little individual bits of criteria that it has to require. So those little adaptations to actually come out with a solution that works for that specific client, that is where R&D actually sits within the company. All of that cost that you are bearing up until the point you sell it to the client, which you're invoiced now and you're getting paid for that, that's fine. But you as a company, you are expending out in actually developing that up until the point you obviously sell it to your client. But all of the costs that are associated with that, and it is very, very broad. But let's just say the biggest one to start with is time and wages. So as a limited company director or employees, anybody who is associated with that project, their time cost is an allowable expense. But then it goes past that. So you've got things like licenses. So maybe you've got licenses on machinery for it to work in a certain way. You've got travel expenditure. You've got heating and electric even, because obviously you need to keep the lights on for people to work in there. Then also the material costs, the prototyping costs, the testing costs to ensure that it all works, etc., etc. So all these little ancillary bits all add up into a big pot of cash, effectively. That is an expense for R&D.
Okay. I take it would be very similar to if somebody is developing a service or something like that. Not a service, but like for us, for accountants or business coaches, they probably have their own little packages.
So
develop for their clients.
The best way to understand it for service level companies. So we do a lot of recruiters. So recruiters you wouldn't necessarily think would be able to claim R&D. But what they've done in their back office system to make them more efficient and work more productively going forward is that they've created new systems and processes that they've digitized to ensure that they separate themselves from the competition, give her a better delivery, but also allows them to have some ownership of that product as well. So a lot of the recruiters we work with, they will hire developers, external developers. So it doesn't have to be an internal cost, it can be an external cost as well. But they've paid an external developer to basically digitize something that they have created internally to work more efficiently. So R&D is also a cost for that as well. So it doesn't have to be a tangible product. It can actually be an intangible product. It can be a service that you've created. But as long as we can show that there's been a development, innovation in that area, whether we've done it internally or externally, then that's where it sits.
Just thinking, when you say kind of tracking their time, say I'm developing something, but just totally new, no accountant does. But I don't know what it's going to come to, so I'm not exactly tracking every single minute, every hour. So when it comes to actually me becoming a limited company, or having a limited company, kind of registering it and all of that, and 12 months and all of that, how would it then? Do I just say, oh, I think I may have spent 100 hours on that, or do you need, how specific do you need to get? I guess for expenses you need receipts and invoices, but when it comes to time,
you do. Okay, so the way in which we work is our specialists. The way the HMRC like to see these things is they need. There's three things they need effectively. There's a technical report which sets out in a wording format. You have to remember, people at HMRC, they're not the smartest tools in the shed, so they like things simplified for them to an extent where they can actually understand how your day-to-day activities. Although it's your day-to-day activity, you probably see them relatively simply. But for the HMRC, it's actually an innovation. So how do you word that in such a way that it states that what you have worked on is a development? So there's a technical report, simplified technical report. Then there's a highly technical report, which sits in the background as well to answer any questions that the HMRC might potentially have on a claim that comes through. And then lastly, there's a numbers report, a detailed report which sets out all of the attributed values, costs, and time associated. So in terms of tracking going forward, it's both easy and hard. It's easy when you know what you're doing. It's hard when you don't know what you're doing. So, but as going forward, it's basically you have a specific project, and then what you do is you go, okay, employee X is spending so many hours of their day each day on this project over a set period of time, and their wages are X, and 90% of their total time was attributed to R&D, or maybe only 10%, etc., etc. And then all those costs are what roll in. So you can
like
do
12
this
months down the line, it's a bit of a guesswork, really, isn't it? Like, oh yeah, I didn't know this is going to come to something, but I think so and so spent 5 hours a week on this.
Yeah.
That's how many weeks? 52 weeks a year. Oh, let's just round it up. Is that sort of not rounding up? Okay, I'm over generalizing, but
there are certain percentages you can get away with without annoying the HMRC. But the thing is, for the HMRC, they don't care if you're claiming £1 or £1,000,000. They just want to ensure that you are claiming every pound that you should be claiming. But what happens is, in a lot of cases, especially with other specialists as well, is that they either grossly overestimate it, or they massively underestimate it and be too conservative. And that annoys the HMRC. They don't like that. They want to ensure that everything you're doing and claiming for is what you should be claiming for. So the way that we work with our specialists and our report writers is that we have an agreed format with HMRC. They understand how we work and the formulas that we use to ensure that everything is accounted for correctly. But you can't get 100% accurate every time, but we try to get 99% accurate as much as possible. But it's just all about how you the real meat in it is actually the technical report wording out, because the numbers are.
But is that something that you do? You do the wording, you do the reports. So the client potentially just needs to come to you saying, "I've got so and so project, help me out." So you just talk to them, and then you pretty much do all the work behind the scenes.
Yeah, so in the way we work, so you can actually go back 2 years with this as well. So it's not just a current thing. So depending on when your year end is, we can go back, look at the previous years, and then amend the CT600L to qualify the R&D that was spent previously and get the money back from HMRC, more importantly, the cash.
I just want to say, whoever is watching, because I can see somebody's watching us, feel free to ask questions either now or later, and I'm sure that Stuart, even after the stream, we can then answer your questions.
Yeah, of course, not a problem at all. In the way that we work is we basically sit between the accountant and the client. So what we like to do is not tread on the accountant's toes, but assist them. But also, we aren't accountants, so we are effectively process engineers. We understand the process, and we understand how to write it in such a way that the HMRC understand that there's been a technical innovation. And then what we do is, when we work with the accountant, to utilise those numbers in the most tax efficient manner for that. So it might be actually just a tax reduction. It won't necessarily need to be a cash benefit. Depending on the client's position, they might be quite cash rich, in which case actually they want to pay less tax. Or it might be the other way around, where they're not happy to pay tax, but they would rather have cash benefits. So we just look to ensure that it's utilised in the most efficient way. But our job is to maximise it, to get everything out of it that it possibly can. And look after the client year on year.
So I think you would probably be talking to the client's accountant as well. Going through the account just to see if you can see something as well that the client may have missed out on.
So the way in which we work is we normally get introduced by an accountant or professional. To be honest, that's how all our instructions come through. But what we do is we ring fence the client, the accountant, because if it's a service that they can't potentially do in house, or they just want to steer clear from because it is becoming more of a speciality, we act on behalf of the accountant to ensure that the client's getting the correct level of advice for all these ancillary allowances. But what we do is we go in, sit down with the client, and just listen. And just go, "Client, what do you do? Please tell me what you do. How have you got to here?" And then we pick out certain things that are eligible for R&D, and then explain to them in their own terms as to where it is in their business, how it works, and where the benefit is in their business as well. And then when the technical specialist comes in, they ask more poignant questions, get more information out, and then they start generating these reports. to end up with a final figure and report.
So how long do you think it would be from the moment that somebody contacts you, let's say they've got everything ready, they've got all the figures, and to the moment they actually get, how long is the process? Is it all done within a month? Does it take, 3 months, a year?
So
what's the time
previous
scale?
to COVID, the lead time on claims was about 10 to 18 weeks from when the report submitted to HMRC, which is normally in line with your year end. So do it at the same time. It's the most tax efficient time to do it because you normally do 2 years at the same time rather than just one.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I lost my train of thought now. Yeah. So what we can do is we can do it day one. So the moment we meet the client, we can get the claim in, or we can wait until the year end. But now a lot of the HMRC employees are working from home. What's actually happened is efficiencies have massively gone up.
It has, hasn't it?
Yes, yeah. So
everything is just that much faster and much quicker, and just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, which is weird, isn't it? You think the other way around, but no. So their lead time is now only 28 days on the claim.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so from submission to completion, it can be as short as a month. But it depends on the size and the complexity. Sometimes they come back with questions. But the great thing about R&D, and one thing that people always, or a few clients always worry about, is the HMRC going to come back and take all this money away from me? Well, with R&D, HMRC, they ask all their technical questions up front, so they only give a benefit when they're happy with that claim. And then subsequently, year on year, it becomes easier for them to process because they understand the company and they understand where the technical innovation lies. So that first year's claim is the most important one because that's where the HMRC are going to go, actually, we need this, or can we ask this, etc., etc. So there's no liability later on that the HMRC can come back. Obviously, HMRC can ask questions at any time. That's their right, but it wouldn't necessarily be on the R&D claim. And we fully support and justify claims up to 6 years anyway. So even if there is ever a question, it goes instantly to the specialist and doesn't go with the client or the accountant.
Oh wow, cool. So you were talking about kind of COVID and Brexit, especially Brexit. What interests me now. How do you think that R&D is going to be affected by it?
I can't see it going away
What's
because
your gut feel?
my gut feeling is it's probably going to increase to around 250%. At the moment, it's about 230%. My feeling is that they'll increase it because they'll want companies to be incented, especially with free tax incentive. They'll want companies to come into the UK to employ and innovate. Because at the end of the day, UK don't make a lot, but we do load a lot of IP. Our benefit in this country is two things: it's financial services, but also intellectual property ownership in the UK. We have a lot of innovations in the UK that we have ownership of, and these taxable incentives are a big way of drawing big companies in.
I mean, to be honest, like during COVID, we've had quite a few, more inquiries than usual, I suppose, during COVID since March, just because people sit at home on furlough and they just think, oh, do I want to go back to work? Or, they just set up their own businesses. So so the amount of inquiries has definitely increased our end. What about yours? Has it seen an increase?
Massively, yeah. So we've had to take an extra bod on, and we're up to a team of 10 now internally.
Oh my goodness.
So so what we did, we were cautious in March, so we slashed our figures by about 40 to 50%, which means we're absolutely fine as a company. We're ticking over. That's absolutely great. But what happened in April was we actually did 3 months worth of work in 1 month, and that was subsequently from them.
Long nights, weekends.
Yeah, well, not me. But we're probably doing 40 or 40% more than we were this time last year.
Yeah.
So it's been, touch wood, for us, it's been good. Yeah. But obviously for a lot of our clients, some of them have disappeared now. And
do you think it would be worth for limited companies to just give you a courtesy call to see if they even have any, R&D in their business?
Yeah, so
because I think a lot of businesses don't even know they can claim.
It's grossly underclaimed. It's probably about 90% of all companies in the UK who can claim haven't claimed.
Yeah. So would
And
it be worth just giving you a call to just find out, to have a little conversation, and then suddenly have a light bulb saying, well, actually, no, we do. Would
yeah,
you recommend that sort of thing? Just like,
so the way that we work is we do not charge anything for the advice that we give. It's only based upon a success. So if there is no value in it, if there's no benefit at the end of the day, then there's no fee to pay. So
okay.
our job is purely to find, uh, educate the client, and then bring in somebody who's actually going to come in and do the work. Because a lot of these R&D companies now, they're specialised in certain areas of R&D. So we've got somebody who's extremely technical on tech, and then we've got somebody who has a very good broad spectrum of everything, but it's mainly in engineering and processes, those sort of things. And then, so they're all starting to separate into these little boxes now of specialities for R&D,
Yeah.
which is great because it means that they're maximising the potential for each one of those
Exactly.
demographics. But the way our job is to match up. So we sit down with the client, we don't charge anything for our time. You know, we work with 13 allowances, not just R&D. We'll look at everything, work out every single allowance, HMRC allowance that they can actually be claiming.
Oh,
We
wow,
educate
cool.
them. We educate them to understand how it works and every single part within their business, how it connects to that, and then we
Yeah.
then bring in the people to actually to carry out the work for them. But it's all based upon success at the end of the day. So if they
So it's
don't
pretty
receive,
much no claim, no fee, sort of.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, wow. So what, say there is a claim, what
Mhm.
are the fees then, just to give, businesses idea as to how, because if there is a claim, you don't
Yeah.
want to do it for free all the way. So
No.
what are your fees? What's your sort of
It
structure?
depends on the size, but usually it's 25% of the elected benefit for the first 2 years, which is where the hard work is. Because we have to
Yeah.
go from nothing to a fully technical, justified report, which states out where these technical developments are.
Yeah.
And then year on year after that, it's a negotiated fee that everybody's comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, we need to get paid for the work that we do, but we also don't want the client to miss out either. And we want to look after them. Because what you'll tend to find with R&D is that annually the claim will get bigger. Because once you understand where it sits within your business, then you're better placed to equate more efficiently as you go forward. And then you can, and it allows you to look at jobs where potentially previously you've gone, there's not much profit in it, so it's not worth that time
Yeah.
because it's so technically demanding. But R&D allows you then to look at these scenarios and go, actually, because it's so technical, 95% of it will be R&D, then if I can actually get the benefit for actually doing the work. So it increases the profit margin for that specific project.
Oh,
So,
amazing.
yeah.
I was actually always just thought about R&D being a one-off sort of thing. So when you say annually, is it because the project obviously is being developed as they go? Because people, I suppose, they don't necessarily develop something and stop developing it.
No. A good company will always be developing as they go forward. Whether it's, so we do breweries, for example. Breweries are a brilliant claim. So they're taking water, like Jesus, to alcohol, but they're doing it through a technical process. And that is a technical innovation because they have to ensure that the beer that comes out at the end of the day has to adhere to certain strict regulations and controls, make sure you don't poison anybody, make sure it has a consistent flavour, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a chemical process that happens throughout that line. But breweries don't just make one beer and then they're done. The next year they'll come up with a new process and a new beer and blah blah.
Yeah.
So it's annually they'll be looking to do stuff. And what this allows you to do as a company is to do more. You know, it's HMRC always win at the end of the day. The money you get back from them, generally you'll reinvest it into your company and create new products and services. And although yes, you'll get more money back next year, you'll invest a bit more money. The whole principle of it is to assist growth quickly by utilising the money you are just expending every day and giving you a cash benefit for actually doing that.
Yeah. I can see, like talking to you now, I can see so much potential for so many businesses who don't even realize that they can get an R&D. So yeah, whoever is watching this, please contact Stuart because you might be eligible for some money. So please,
Yeah.
please, please, give him a call.
And
We're gonna leave
we
some contact details in the comments,
yeah, cool.
just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everybody kind of has sort of access to your advice and know how to contact you to make sure that they do just really look into their accounts, their development, and just make sure that they do claim if they've got the right to claim.
Yeah.
So what do you think will be, what's the smallest claim and the highest value claim that you've ever done? If you don't
Right.
mind sharing.
No. So we've done one-man limited companies before where they're getting a £500 relief.
Okay.
And then we've done multi-million pound claims where they're developing day in, day out, doing loads and loads of different stuff. So we're not biased in any way. We're happy to
Yeah.
talk to, because at the end of the day, if it's a startup and it's their first year and it's one man,
Yeah.
our goal is to ensure that they hit year 2, year 3 and grow. And if we can do that by ensuring that they're spending in the right way and getting as much tax benefit as possible, then we're
Exactly.
happy to assist year and year and year. So we're not biased in any way. We're happy to talk to
Yeah.
anybody.
I'm just thinking there's so many businesses I can think of right now, and they pretty much started their business because they do something different to
Yeah.
other businesses. So I can see so much potential. Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah, and
yeah.
we've done weird and wonderful things. We've done scaffolders, rocketeers, flooring companies, in internal
Business
development.
coaches, virtual assistants.
Yeah, but if
Okay.
they develop stuff in the background, we can do the claim
Yeah.
for them. Like recruiters is another good one. We've done
Yeah.
financial companies. We've done loads and loads of. I mean, we've
Well,
got
you've been around, you said, 7 years now.
7 years. Yeah, so we've done. I don't even know how many now. At least a few thousand.
I was kind of thinking, it was like, let's ask how many. But I thought that's not a fair question.
No, no. So
Didn't
we're
want to put
probably
you on the
doing
spot like
anywhere. We're doing anywhere from 40 to 80. Oh, my dad would tell me we've got 2,000. So
oh, wow.
yeah, we're doing kind of 40 to 80 cases a month at the moment.
Yeah. Cool.
Uh,
Oh, wow.
And we're claiming our clients get over £500,000 a month in cash benefit, which is what we worked out a couple of months ago.
Oh, people, just call Stuart. Just get the...
Yeah.
If there is a way to get money out of HMRC in the right way, not the wrong way,
Yes.
just be clever about it. Have a look at your R&D and definitely, yeah, call Stuart.
Yeah, there's so many tools
See
that
where it
the
takes us.
HMRC have developed.
Yeah.
Use them.
So what would be your 3 sort of tips to tell people out there when it comes to R&D? What sort of things to look for, or...
So a lot of companies now will probably have been contacted by R&D companies, and there's loads of them out there now. And a lot of them are just using digital processes to create reports. So what they'll do is they'll ask the client for where their technical innovation has been and where their R&D sits. And most clients are completely unaware of where it actually is. And they're getting very small claims from people, but they're just doing it en masse, and they do it very cheaply as well. My biggest advice to clients is always seek the advice of the people that you trust, that you're associated with first. So your accountant, your solicitor, your finance broker, see if they have people who they prefer to work with, because generally they will be much better people. So don't Google it. Don't pick up on an email somebody is saying. Those companies are great, and for us it's brilliant because they do free advertising for us. But everything we do is through professional referral. So we work with accountants, listers, finance brokers, insurance brokers, etc. Because they are trusted parties of businesses, and although we're not the cheapest by any means, we just ensure that everything that they can claim should be claimed. And in instances, we've taken claims from £5,000 a year that another specialist has done, and we've taken it to over £500,000 a year, purely because what we do is we know what can be claimed for the company. It's just basically taking all the technical stuff out of somebody's head and getting it down on paper.
Yeah.
So, but we do all our stuff manually as well. It's not a digital process. So it's
And
all
I'm just
manual.
thinking, people probably spend a lot of time on researching online as well as to, okay, R&D, what can I, just those kind of Googling questions, what can I claim through R&D, what is R&D, you know,
Yeah.
am I eligible for R&D? And I think the amount of time people may potentially waste and not really learning much or just getting conflicted advice, they could just call you and just get it all in one phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes me 10 minutes to see if a company can claim. I just go on company's house to see what their accounts are like. I go on, I look at their website, and I can guarantee within 10 minutes I'll say if there is definitely something there or there isn't something there. But
You've
I'm
pretty much
more than
answered
happy.
my next question as to, you know, what makes you different from other companies. That's exactly it. You just, yeah.
And how we're different to other companies in the sector is that we are not, we're not accountants and we're not technical experts in any way as a company, Woodshires. But what we are is business people. We understand how businesses work. We understand how they process their day-to-day activities. And what we're very good at is prospecting and getting people to understand in businessman language as to how these things actually work for them. Because if you take somebody who's highly technical in day one, they'll be talking about points of law and tax, tax law and clients go, oh my God, these stuff is too much, it's scary.
Yeah.
But our job is to basically simplify that so they really understand where the benefit is for their company and that the risk is really low. And this is something that the biggest thing is this: I can guarantee one of your competitors is claiming. So the last thing that you want to be as a company is getting left behind because another company is claiming this benefit, receiving large cash benefits and innovating going forward. And then you're sitting there going, how are they expanding so quickly? How are they doing this so quickly? And I'm just plodding on. So always have a look at it. And the HMR, if you go on HMRC's website, it's very technical and scary. If you actually talk to somebody who really knows what they're doing, and like what we do is we can explain that to you in a way that you understand how it fits specifically with your business, not just as a general.
Yeah.
And that's our gift.
No, it's really good. What we stand for is plain language. Being patient with the client who may not necessarily be understanding things, and just really the target is for the customer to be satisfied with what they're getting. So when they come to us, they actually get their their questions answered. Just talking to you, I can totally see you've got the same values, same talking plain language, and just making sure that the client actually understands what they're doing. So
it's never really been about the money. It's always been about giving the client the most holistic level of advice possible. Obviously, the money is a benefit on the background, but at the end of the day, we're happy to take loss leaders on some claims if we can help a company. That's why we're happy to talk to companies day one. If we're a startup, happy to talk to them. We're not going to make anything for 3 years as a company, but it's still worth it because if we see a company grow, then we've got a relationship with them and they trust us to give them the right level of advice. And hopefully we'll look after them forever.
Yeah. So what's the best way to get hold of you? Have you got Facebook? Are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You probably won't find me on Facebook because, unless you just want pictures of me, the kids, and food.
No, I'm just kind of thinking about your company.
Yeah, no,
somebody might be interested.
If you Google Woodshires, there's two companies that come up. There's us who do cats, and then there's a woodworker, and that's not us.
That's not you. Well, I'll try and put the links and everything in the comments.
Put my email in there. More than happy for anybody to email me. I'll have a conversation.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. I think sort of slowly running out of time here. So anything else you'd like to add?
Everybody just use these things as much as possible because although, yes, the government are giving loads of loans and rebates for companies that they can utilise at the moment, they haven't got to pay back for 12 months. You've still got to pay back with interest. Although all the other interest rates are low, you've still got to pay back. These things are based upon the expenditure you've already done. So if we get you 10, 20, 50, £100,000, that's your money. You haven't got to pay back. You utilise that money then. So these tools are a very, very good way of staying away from taking out extra liability and debt.
Oh, amazing. Thank you ever so much.
No problem.
I might be in touch later with maybe some links or some other details. If you got any blogs or anything, it would be really beneficial to maybe add it to the comments after this live. But yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.
I'm going to end the stream, and I might probably still stay on myself to just say some last minute things.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stu. You have a lovely day,
And
and
you.
I'll see you soon. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Right, so that was Stuart from Woodshires. Like I said, I'm going to post some links in the comments. But oh my goodness, if you are a limited company and you're doing something differently to your competitors, definitely give him a call, because you might be eligible for some research and development tax reliefs. So definitely worth. And like he said, he can figure out in 10 minutes whether you are eligible for something or not. Share this video. I don't think many people actually know, because you might be sitting on some money and without even knowing about it. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to see you next week again about the same time, 11ish, and I'll confirm end of this week as to who we're going to talk to. But yeah, have a good day, and I'll see you next week.